Still, this is still FourRoom Africa. Okay, so I want to ask, at this point in South Africa, living with these people, I think South Africa has one of the highest, white population, in Africa, apart from, the Arabs that are naturally, that's who they are. Now, how does it feel with Blacks seeing these white people with them and they identify as South Africans too? Does it hurt you guys, or have you accepted it as okay, yes, it is what it is? Because this will have been there for ages now, and they've already, integrated with the system. Do you accept them, or do you still feel hurt with the oppression, the apartheid, or everything, or are you all living as one Africans now?
First one, I would dispute what you're saying about they've integrated with us. They haven't integrated with us. What they've done, they've imposed their culture on us.
Okay.
So we found us being African, and they brought their Europeanism on us. So they have forced us to integrate with them. They've not integrated with us.
Okay.
So in South Africa, you've got two types of whites. So in 1652, you have the Dutch that came to South Africa. The Dutch were moving from Netherlands. They were going to India, and then they had a station in South Africa just to take a break before going to India to get the spices.
Yes, okay.
But we saw that there's a lot of land, it's next to the ocean, and so they decided to colonize us. But when they began to colonize us, they came to discover, they call it discovering, but it's always been there, but they discovered that we've got mineral resources. And the moment the news came to Europe that South Africa has diamonds and gold and platinum, the British also came in the 1800s to colonize, and there was a war between the British and the Dutch over our land. And around the 1900s, the British and the Dutch became friends, and they established the Union of South Africa, which then later on had apartheid later on. But throughout this time, it's always been the British and the Dutch who's been deciding what must happen in South Africa. They've been deciding on the land. They took all the land, they took all the resources, and South Africa basically belongs to them. And in what happened in 1913 is that there was the Native Land Act, which made it illegal for a Black person to own land. So white people were only like 10%, but they owned 80% of the land in South Africa. The entire coastal area was owned by them, and they pushed us in small places, in small land, where we squatted together as Black people. And that is still the reality to this day.
Today, yes, I know that. Till today, they still own most of the land in South Africa. So
you can never have peace, Evan, when you have a situation like that. We can never sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya when you have people who came from Europe through a boat to people who had land, who had everything, but today we are poor and they have land and they have everything. How did that happen? How did visitors come to own land and come and own resources in a land that we've always occupied for generations, yet they are the ones who are owning everything? So there isn't integration, there isn't peace, there isn't oneness. You have white people pushing their own agenda, and you've got Black people resisting that, which is why when Julius Malema came in with the economic freedom fighters, it found a lot of meaning within the young people, because we recognize that we've been robbed, and we are sold dreams that never, like what Mandela sold us was just a dream. It never came to fruition. So the struggle is still a long way to go, because a Black young person in South Africa suffers. They're unemployed, they don't have education, they live in informal settlements. Even getting electricity, that is still a problem to this day.
Okay. Desmond, I'll ask you now. If you were the president of South Africa, Desmond, I'm asking you this now. What laws will you impose? What would you do I'm not trying to spark a revolution. I'm just saying what the leaders ought to have done to make this thing rise, or rather, what would they have done? Because sometimes you see this. I know South Africa is free from the whole thing, but is that the leaders are still held bound by some of these things they get from these people. Why can't anybody make a law to spread this thing? Let the Aboriginal people benefit. Why will these white people still own lots of these things? If you were the president, okay, I'm not putting thoughts in your head, though. I'm just saying, what would you do if you were to be president of South Africa for one day? What do you think? Because you can see the pain already. Understand? Because in FourRoom Africa, we discuss as one Africa. I'm not right now. I'm not Nigerian. You are not Cameroonian. We're all Africans. What would you do?
Shout out to Cyril Ramaphosa and his predecessor and all the work they've put in. Nelson Mandela. I mean, we respect these big people. I mean, shout out to them. You can see some dissatisfaction there with Sibulele. But well, it's a very multifaceted kind of situation right now. I'm short of any real solution right now. But the fact that there's this economic disparity in South Africa, which still stems from the problem of colonialism. Right. I like the way Sibulele put it out. I mean, I could see some trend there, some pattern, and I never knew the history from this angle about the Dutch and the British being the main, policy makers there. But what I'll do, right, if I were the president, is work on the system. We need a system, the economic system, the political system, the social cultural system. Because the system is what defines everything. It's the system. That is not an easy thing. Changing systems is a lifelong thing. Is something you dedicate your life to. So if I were a president, I'll make sure that I put in a system that the people are going to back. Because a president only has so much time. He only has a term, a mandate. Yeah. So if I institute a system, I'll make sure that when the people are electing the next president, they're going to elect only someone who who ties with the system that is already in place. Because that's the only way. That's the only way. And changing a system, I know it's not easy. It's like changing a culture. It's like changing a belief. It's like changing someone's religion. That's hard. But that's where I'll start somewhere with, reworking the system.
Okay. Monday, if you were to be president of South Africa for one day, do you agree with what he says, or do you think you would compromise, or do you think you would start a revolution, or?
Okay. It's very, very controversial. But I would say systems are a way to start. But then again, going back to the fact that these people are not in unity completely. So who are you imposing these systems to? You're imposing these systems to two people that don't see eye to eye, which means they will also not agree with these systems again. So I think it goes back to the fact that as leaders, we don't include the voices of what people want, not what we want. So if I was to be a president today, I think the first thing is to call these people from both parties. What do we really want? Because now I'm able to know from this side, that side, and majorly my country would want to hear. One thing I've noticed with leaders, regardless of where they are, we wake up and we decide, my people need water. Yet these people have water, they just need clean water. So you're going to bring them more dirty water, yet they had the dirty water. So I would say systems are a good way to go. But then again, who needs them? You see, the discussion of why we are doing what we do is always very important. So I would say for me, if I was to be a president in South Africa, which I don't think would happen, but if I was, I would say it's actually sit down and understand what is really behind everything. Yes, we have a team bringing up AppGuide, we have other ones getting summary. When I'm able to listen, and solutions come from the people that actually put it So after the discussion of what is really going through, systems is a good idea. I'll go back to what Espen said. Yes, the systems have to be there. Every political, social, cultural, economic systems, they actually in one way or the other connect with each other, and they lead to either a tougher life or a very simple life for every citizen in a single country. So I would say systems are a good thing, but then again, go back to the policies. Policies and laws are what support any changes that we have. So can we read the Constitution of South Africa? What does it say? Is a white person allowed more privilege than a black person? Can we revise that constitution? Can you bring up a policy that says blah, blah, blah needs to be equalized? You get? So from that policy and laws, then now we're able to bring forth equalization of this system and this thing. You get now, because the policies will always support the systems, but now the systems cannot support the policies and the laws. So we need that law, we need that policy, we need the constitution to be revised. Is the constitution against the people? Then if it is against the people, what can be done? Then from the constitution, can we include now systems? Can we include more conversations around it? And I would say it's very tough because it's very inbred. It's already inside the people. So it's very tough to start teaching them. And you know, one of the things is education, awareness, creating awareness to them that it's actually not a battle between the skin color, it's actually a battle between what we deserve and what we don't. So being able to have such open-ended conversations, and I know it's very tough being a president to do that. Probably I'm wishful thinking, but in this case, I would say policies are very important, laws are very important. Our constitution, which is in Kenya, it is called like the rule of the land. Nothing is above the constitution. And so if nothing is above the constitution, then why is the constitution fighting against its own people? Go back, make it favorable to its own people, remove cartels, because we have cartels in South Africa and in every other African country. If you're able to fight with cartels, then you're meaning that even the lowest level of the dependent in that country is able to access things equally. But then again, fighting cartels, go back. It's a lot of work. So it's back to the systems, it's back to the processes and the laws that we have. So that if you're a cartel, if you're arrested, you're able to jail you for 15 years or 20 years or your whole life. So that you're able to keep people accountable for the work they have done and also allow people to move on forward even from the pain that they have been through. So I think that's what I would do. I don't know if I gave a conclusive answer. I feel like I was running around like this, but yeah.
Okay.
PhD.
Okay, so guys, but I wanted to say two other major areas before we go. Now, the question we are going to deal with next, which we use to wrap up, is this, which I'm going to ask similarly. Everything we just said now, is it achievable? I mean, you are in the system. It's easy for us to say, yes, we'll set up systems, we'll do this, we'll do that. The reality is, because now they are saying, like, for example, now we in our country, Tinubu forged certificates, he rigged the election. Yeah, nobody is ready to do anything. Who wants to fight? With the answers that killed many people that time, nobody wants to go again. You with that insight, do you think it's this thing they just talked about? Is it really possible to be done? Because I'm glad we don't have white people really like president of South Africa, a white man, okay? They are all blacks. To the best of my knowledge, is it achievable? Is it possible? I'm not saying do they plan doing it, but do you think it's something that would have been done, could be done?
Firstly, let me correct what you're saying about the president being a black man. He's got a black skin, but I don't know if he's a black man.
Oh, okay.
I think let's begin with
that's
that.
the height of the problem. They have a big problem.
Because who does he report to? Who carries his mandate? The ANC is a political party. It needs to be funded. It's funded by capitalists. Who are the capitalists? It's the white people. They own them. They own the economy. So they fund the political party before they go campaign and say, we're going to fund your party and these are the things that you must do. And the poor people just vote. They vote for nonsense because that people do not carry the mandate of the poor. They carry the mandate of capitalism. So it's not black people. They don't Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't even care about black people. He cares about his own family, his dollars, and his own future. That's the first point. The second point, I think I do agree with what the speakers have said, particularly what Desmond spoke about systems. I think if we change the economy, the current structure of the economy of South Africa is there to benefit white people. If we change the structure, that would definitely benefit. And also if we change the political structure, how people are elected into power. What Mwenda said about talking, I'm done talking now. Like, let's not bring people together and talk. Let's act now. I'm ready to act, whatever that means, whatever that takes.
Okay.
South Africa, nothing revolutionary happened. The only thing that happened is that the white government moved out of power and they were just replaced by black faces who just did exactly what they were doing, minus their violence. So it's just the same thing. So I would radically change the system, the economic system, how it is. I would even tax people who benefited from apartheid. I would tax people based on the land that you have, based on everything that you have. You must be taxed, and that money must go towards having social housing for people who have no houses. It must go towards creating opportunities. We can't have these big gaps between the haves and the have-nots. We can't carry on continuing, especially because the poverty has a face, it has a color, it's black, and it's mostly female. And that's the reality in South Africa, and it cannot be.
Okay. Thank you for that response. Now, I want to ask, it's a very, very crucial question. Now, I have a lot of questions in my mind, but let me just throw this one in. Every time we hear, I know xenophobia didn't start with South Africa, okay, but it became more popular in this generation with South Africans. That's even in Nigeria, it was in 1978 when we chased Ghanaians out of the country. Okay, that's when the Ghana must go back started raining because we chased Ghanaians out and all that. But I want to ask, instead of, we hear a lot about South Africans fighting. Recently, it's South Africans fighting Somalians, or rather Somalis. I don't know what they called. I mean, those people from Somalia residing in South Africa. Okay. Some time ago, we heard they were fighting Nigerians, fighting foreigners. And you see all these foreigners they fight, they are all blacks. Okay. Wouldn't they stand up to fight the white people? Now, I'm not calling for a revolution. I'm just saying, why? Is it fear? Why does it not occur to them to, okay, let's shake these people a little bit? Like I said, I'm not calling for a revolution. I'm just saying, why do they have confidence to fight their own blacks and not put the heat on these people to at least, I'm not saying to get out, to at least release little. Release it a little instead of owning everything. Do you understand? Why is there no that this against this people? Only blacks it's fighting. Do you think it's fear? Similarly, you conclude, but I want to hear from the other two people. Do you think it's fear? Or what do you think when they go first? What do you think is the reason why they don't fight? They only fight blacks?
So let's go back to the fact that there's always a reason for migration, right? And majorly migration is led by you leaving a place where there is no opportunities and you going to a place where there's opportunities. In real sense, South Africa doesn't have opportunities for Black people, right? So when I leave my country to go and fight for the small opportunities in South Africa, what am I doing to the people that cannot leave South Africa? Yet I have a right, I have a chance to leave Kenya and go to another country that has more opportunities for me. But you know what? I choose South Africa because that's where I want to go. And then people that cannot leave, the South Africans that are not able to leave South Africa, where do I want them to go? So that's why you find other Black people, quote unquote South Africans, fighting other, nationalities, because you left your country that had opportunities to come and help and fight with me for the little meager opportunities that I have. It doesn't add up. And so at times, even as Africans, we are not brothers and sisters to each other, because we are literally oppressing them more than the whites are oppressing them, because the whites have already taken majority of the opportunities, right? So when we go and take 3/4 of the remainder that was left, we leave them with 1/4. That is very unfair. And the fact that we can also migrate to other countries that have opportunities for us, then that means that we are literally also, we are colonizing and we are oppressing our fellow Black people. So how do you expect them not to react to us? So I would say it's not about fear, because already go back to the fact that our minds, for example, if you are born today in a country that is full of war, for example, a kid that has been born today in Palestine, they don't know anything else. They know war. That's all they know. So anything that comes new that is not war, for them it's very new. But for them in Palestine, they know literally every day it is bombing, it is fire, it is, our houses are being burned. That is what they will grow up used to. For them, they're used to building, it is broken down, they rebuild again. That is what they're used to. But now, if someone comes in to start taking the little that they have left, what are you trying to do to the people of Palestine? So I'm putting the people of South Africa in the same foot as the people of Palestine. These people have grown up with white people in their neighborhoods. So they don't know any better than the white people. All they know is that we have very small opportunities. And then a Kenyan, for example, when they leaves her country, where she has an opportunity to work as a commercial worker, not commercial worker, to work at nights and during the day. And I leave my country and go to work in South Africa, where I know Sibulele cannot get that job. Or it's very hard. Like if he gets that job, it's like a 1%. And then I'm going to take the same job that he had. Sibulele will kill me, obviously, because what am I doing to his job, to his future, to his future, to his family, to where he's going to get an income. So I would say, majorly when you see Black people fighting Black people, it's because we are not being brothers and sisters to each other. We are not being considerate to each other. We are literally not supporting each other, and we are becoming oppressors to each other. That's why you see, if I am a Black person and I employ a Black person as a house worker or as a domestic worker, I end up using them so badly. I oppress them because as a Black, I want to literally take away their power. But you see whites employ Blacks and they give them opportunities, go to school, graduate, do this. Why can't we be, supporters of each other? So I would say it's not about fear, it's about what their minds are conditioned to. Their minds are conditioned to this and this. This is how the system works. So if they see a fellow Black person trying to take the opportunities, the small opportunities they have, then for them a war, because you're taking the small opportunities that I have. So that's what I would say. Majorly, it's not about fear, because it's majorly about survival. The little that I have, please leave it alone. Let me use that as I fight for more, because I cannot fight the whites and fight the Blacks. One of you has to leave. And because you came here later, please leave, let me fight those that were here before. So I would say, as Blacks, we should always, as Africans, let's be considerate of each other. If I have an opportunity in Canada and in South Africa, I can leave the one in South Africa for someone that can actually benefit of it who is in South Africa, and probably go to another place that has more opportunities for me. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Sorry, just one before you come in, I will say this. The reason why this question is important because so that we don't give wrong advice to, or whatever, we don't throw the wrong stones. Because it's easy for me to say, South Africans, why do you fight fellow Blacks? Why don't you? But if, from what Mwende just said now, if you put yourself in shoes of South Africans, you understand exactly. Yes, it's not easy to just say, why are you throwing them out? Why are you throwing Blacks out? Why are you fighting your fellow brothers? But are you in their shoes? Do you know what they're going through? Okay. So Desmond, please.
Yeah. I like the way Mwende beautifully put it out. It's not about xenophobia. It's not about hating another people, It's about the economic pressure that, that unemployment creates on the people. And so the frustration comes in and, they feel or they act the way they act. Okay? So, yeah.
Okay. But my concern is like, they only put that pressure on fellow Africans. The whites don't even feel the heat a little bit. They don't feel it. They don't feel it. It's done. Okay, go ahead. Finish up.
Yes, because I don't think I don't think as Africans we're even in a position to, begin to rouse any form of enmity with the whites, because just try, anything happens to maybe an American tourist or a French tourist who came to your country, and tomorrow the news is saying that they are lost, or they went on some tour somewhere and they're lost. The next thing you have is the American government. I mean, they're acting immediately, and they're giving orders. They are not demanding, they're demanding answers, okay? And you see how fast things will go. I mean, they are economic power. So we're not even in a position where we can exact any form of aggression, or some kind of disagreement, towards the white people, because it's they're economically powerful. They have ways, okay? They have means, right? And so we are not in that kind of position. So I think we are just going to transfer any aggression that we have towards them to our fellow brothers.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Similarly, is that correct?
What I would ask in a conversation like this is to really understand the complexity of the situation and not be simplistic about it, because I don't want to create an image or a perception that one day South Africans woke up and decided to hate all Africans and kill them and push them. If that was the case, there would be no foreigner in South Africa. And currently, we have over 1 million of Zimbabweans. We have my manager is a Nigerian. I work like we.
Yeah, greeting from me.
So the idea that if you are a foreigner in South Africa, you killed because you take it's. The incident you speak about the Somalians. The incident you speak about the Somalians, it happened recently. Somalians have been here since I was a child, but the incident in Johannesburg with the Somalians happened because 2 boys went to the shop to buy something from a Somalian shop, and it was poisoned. They died. So the people were reacting to that. It's not an incident of people woke up and they decided to kill people, and no, there wasn't. Children died. They ate something that was sold by the Somalians. The time there was an outbreak in South Africa, particularly in Cape Town, there were men who stayed in a place called Parklands, who were Nigerian, who were selling drugs, and they got young girls who were still in school, and they used this girl for prostitution. When the community found out, there was upset on it, and there was a fight. When the media reports South Africa xenophobia, it's not xenophobia. We are reacting to criminals. We do that even with our own. If you are in this community and you rob someone a phone, one person will just blow a whistle. All the community members will come up and they will beat that person. Even South Africans. With Zimbabweans, for example, in South Africa, people will be fighting for minimum wage, and they will go on a strike. And then while they are striking, the white people will go employ a Zimbabwean who's willing to take less than the minimum wage. They'll get employed.
So there's a compromise.
Now the South Africans will respond to that and be like, these people are taking, they don't, it's not a theoretical thing when we say they take it. It's like literally, it was your job.
Yes, they compromise easily.
It was your job, that was your job.
Yes.
But you were in a protest because you wanted a higher salary, they're not giving to you. And now they're like, no, we're going to take Zimbabweans. And if you go to any restaurant in South Africa, it's all Zimbabweans. All our restaurants are all it's Zimbabweans who are waiters there because they settle for that less amount. And for me, this becomes so emotional because I lost my aunt who worked as a cleaner. And there was a time when there was a protest. All the cleaners were not supposed to go to work because they were fighting for a higher wage. Because my aunt has kids and she went to work because she says she wants money because it's no work, no pay. She went to work. The rest of the cleaners, the union came and they beat her up till she died. But because she's South African, that was never seen as something else. When someone else from Zimbabwe died for that, it was xenophobia. So for me, I get worried people who learn about South Africa from the media, because what you see from the media is not what's happening. South Africans, we live with Zimbabweans, we live with Nigerians, it's all part of it. But when someone does something wrong, we will stand up and we will fight it. The problem with white people is that what they did in 16, 50, whatever. And we don't have Jan van Riebeck. We can't go to Jan, he's already dead. And if you like, it's very complicated. Whereas if someone comes and sells drugs here now at this moment, it's easy to act to that than to act to someone who took their minds in 1800. You don't even know where they are right now. Like it's a very complicated one.
Okay, wow. This is why I like this platform. You know why? Because we get to hear the truth for as it is. Do you understand? Because, and I think part of the problem is Africans, we settle too much. We settle too much for less. We are not united like when they said. Because if I know that my brother is South African, has refused to accept this kind of wage because they don't pay him well, I shouldn't compromise. I shouldn't betray him by going to accept that job. What do I expect him to do? He will hate me. He will chase me out. It's normal. You won't do it in my you won't come and do it here. Do you understand? So I think the media is number one killer of, is a number one problem. They amplify things too much. They don't say the root of the problem. They just say killing in South Africa of Somalians. They don't say the root of the problem, why it happened this way. And that's why we champion platforms like this, where we can say the truth as it is and say it's not their fault. I mean, Africans, we said it the other day in the group. Greed and fear is our problem. Greed and fear. You are too greedy. You want to betray your fellow brother and collect peanuts. And you are afraid that if you don't work, you'll be hungry, you'll die of hunger. You are not ready to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Go through the pain.
It's poverty.
Poverty is the problem. So that is it.
All right.
So, okay.
I think one of the things that I point out from Sibu's point of view is, you see, what I was talking about is what the media has shown me, you get? But now with Sibu's explanation, I'm able to understand the reason behind what was really going on. So I would say our stories as Africans told by the media and white people are being corrupted to what they think.
Very well, I agree with you. I agree.
When African stories are sold out there, they're sold as we are people that fight, we are people that don't love each other, we love xenophobia, I don't know, we love this and this. But in reality, there's always a driving force behind every reaction that we have. So I would say it's about time that people start sharing African stories. We cannot wait for media to share our stories for us, because they will not share. It's about time we, the people that are on the ground, actually say, this is what happens. This is the story of Africa. If we keep on allowing people to share our stories, they will share the wrong thing. And that is what the world will take us as. Because I'm sure the world takes South Africans as people that love fighting, people that don't love. But in reality, they are very peaceful people. They're just fighting for their basic human rights. Yeah. And so if we cannot understand that concept, then we make South Africans look bad. And not only South Africans, but every other part of Africa. So we need to start telling our stories, our own stories, and allowing ourselves to actually be seen in the right way, and not as a very corrupt, as a very poor, very lost continent, because we are not that. We are a continent that has resources. We understand ourselves, and we actually have brotherly love compared to every other continent in the world. So that's what I would take away from what Sibu had said.
True. So in moving forward, in conclusion, I want to ask, now moving forward, what do you think can be done? Because this conversation is not about South Africa. We're just using it as a case study, okay? We are even, in fact, let me say it, Cameroon is even more oppressed. Because at least we agree that South Africa is white versus black, white brainwashing black. Cameroon is black. Sorry.
Big time, bro. Big time.
You understand? It's black.
It's funny. I mean, like, I'll join you to laugh. It's mad. Like, it's
one
mad.
Day we on Cameroon. Because
it's crazy.
I remember this since I was born.
We need a whole session from that.
Now I'll have the president. The guy is getting old. I'm still seeing him old. Like, we are getting old together. And you dare not contest against him in an election. No. You go to jail. No. So it's even worse off. We are even talking about white versus black. Because this conversation started by is African, other white and black Africans. Now it has even evolved to something else. Okay. Now it's not about South Africans now. This is about Africans. Our problem, first of all, we've established that one is what? Poverty, greed, fear. and what? The media. Because greed is what will make a president come into power and refuse to make policies. And let me just say something similarly. In South Africa, truth is this, what I think, I'll say it as it is, what I think is this. Why the president will not come in and make policies and set up the systems like we talked about? Because he's still getting dividends from these people way back. The Dutch, the French, those people who set up the whole system, and they still get royalties till today. I can tell you that for free. That's why they will not compromise. They will not make policies, which is the same thing as greed in Africa. And it happens to all our presidents. It happens to all of us here. That's why they may not want to make those policies that will favor us, that will favor our children and grandchildren. They want policies that will favor them now and their children, and they will eat and be full. Anyway, so moving forward, what are the ways that we can tackle this thing? When I say ways, I'm not saying that will happen overnight. Okay, first of all, I think education, energizing the children today against tomorrow. I think good education and getting them aware of what the future holds. Getting them, because these people that are doing the big job, having the big, they don't have two brains. It's not overnight. Education, and I'm glad you're into education. What do you think will help? How do you think moving forward we can revolutionize these things? Mind you, not overnight. It's done gradually. These things there can be changes. How do you think? I will start from Sibulele, then Desmond, Mwende. What do you think can change? Please, okay, two questions first. First of all, do you think we can live at peace in Africa? Do you think we can live peacefully, whether black, white, whoever you are? Do you think we can live peacefully? Two, what are the steps going forward to cause the changes we want to see? Especially in this aspect of, blacks not getting or Africans, not blacks now, not getting what they work hard for, and some people just, using them to outshine, and the whole problems in Africa.
Okay, so with the question about peace,
yes,
I don't think peace without justice. For as long as there's no justice, you can never have peace. And when we speak about justice, it's a very broad term. So we speak about justice in the sense that Black people need economic and social justice for all the injustice that has happened to us for hundreds of years, from the Berlin Conference that decided which parts of Africa Europeans want and what we need a remedy for all of that. We also need remedy for women in Africa, because remember, often when we talk about justice and equality, it's often when we speak about Black people, the thought that comes to mind is Black men. We need to be clear about the fact that women, in terms of our socially and culturally, they've been left behind in a lot of things. So if you're gonna have justice, it needs to be clear that women need to also be in the center of that. And then when you spoke about if we can remedy the situation, you mentioned something very well. You said education, and I think education is the answer, but not just any other education. I think we need an institute that is going to be somewhere in Central Africa, whether in Mali or so on, an institute, and the job of that institute is to train young people on how to take on the Africa. You have a part that teaches them about the economy. How do we create a powerful African economy? How do we restructure our economy so that it benefits us? You look at a part that will look at the politics. How do we have a political system that works for us? You look at the part that's going to look at education, at health, we need an African-centered institute that will be training young people based on their interest, whether it's politics, whether it's economics, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's STEM, whether it's IT, whatever. But those need to be Afrocentric, and they need to be for the benefit of Africa. And they need to train these people in an African way of thinking to benefit Africa. Because without education, we can never do anything. We'll just replicate what has been done.
Okay. Desmond, I want you to say something next. But what I want you to talk about is this. Because what Siblele said now is in sync with what you said earlier, not now, when we had with Paul, and what you said last week. I want you to stress that pattern again. That's what you said earlier, the solution to how we can, we talked about oppressed by the colonial masters, colonization, and how we can move forward, win our space back. Because from what they think of us to be to where we ought to be. I want you to stress those ideas again. I don't want to be the one to say, I want you to convey your ideas. You remember what you said earlier, right? How we can use the word steal and create, right? I want you to stress it again. I can't hear you. Your sound is off.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, because it all circles around education, just like Subulele said. Okay, it's all around education, which is actually the foundation of any form of development. Okay, be it technological, economic development. It's the educational system, which is very important. That's where the children go to school. That's where they learn. I mean, it's like the base of everything. So we can't go back. We can't go back, okay, and change things. Okay, we have to continue at some point. We have to pick it up at some point. And all these things that were taken away from us, taken away from our ancestors, from our fathers, were taken because they didn't know. They were none the wiser. Okay, they didn't understand. Okay, so they were played. All right. So now that we know, we have some level of understanding of these things. We are educated. What do we have to do? We have to take these things back. And now we can't take them back. We need to take them back, very smartly, and we need to adopt means that can be seen as, yes, we need to take them back. We need to adopt those ways that can be seen as unorthodox. Okay. We have to copy these things and we have to bring them to Africa. And I like the word Subulele use, and make them Afrocentric. Okay. We need to send our people to school. It's true that they are not going to give us the technologies. They are not going to give them to us. They're not even going to sell them to us, even if we had the money, because these things are priceless. Okay. The drone technologies, we have these top, these cutting edge technologies. They're not going to be given to us. The only thing we can do is to copy these things, is to adopt the Chinese kind of way of doing things, copy and bring back to Africa and give them this African kind of face. Okay. So why we send our people to schools? It's true, the education is good, but now who's going to be teaching them? Okay, we need professors, we need people like the great, I forget the name, this Nigerian great professor. I mean, all these great professors around. I admire a lot all the academics who go out there and bring it back here. Okay, because as an academic, you have gotten to the acme, to the highest point. Okay, and now you're at a level where you can dissipate this knowledge. Okay, at the philosophical level. So bring it back, come back here and teach in the institutions. Bring it back to these our dilapidated universities, to these our dilapidated institutions, and give the thing back to us. And we are going to use them and develop our place. But well, the sad thing is that most of our academics, they go out there and they stay there. They remain there because they are paid well. They are kept well. They are made comfortable. They don't want to come back here and suffer. But there's a handful of these academics who go out there, despite the beauty and everything, they still come back and give back to Africa. That's the kind of thing we need. We need those kind of people.
I said this thing will not happen overnight. So if these people go out there understand that if they come back, it won't happen overnight. But they are the first step, and it will gradually change. Yep. Gradually, but they may not want to accept that. They just want what they can satisfy them now. When they please 2 minutes, please. We are supposed to be out of here. Just 2 minutes. What do you have to say? 2 minutes, please.
Okay. So I would say the first question you asked is if we can live in peace. Like Siblele said, we all have our different reasons as to why we are not in peace with other people. And so unless those reasons are sorted, then we can really not talk about over 1 million Africans. I would say majorly, let's give each other justice. Let's be able to actually accommodate everyone. Living, being able to live in 100% peace is one of the toughest things. But if you can respect people for being human, that's it. It starts there. Being able to respect you for just being human without any other reason, then that's the beginning of us living together. We might not be able to live peaceful, we might not talk every day, but it starts somewhere. So if we're able to respect each other as human beings, and respect each other, not based on our skin color, not based on where we come from, not based on the work that we do. I respect you because you're a human being. That's what matters. And I think the second question you asked is, could you remind me the second question, Evans?
How do we move forward? Just give us exactly the way we can move forward.
So I think for me, moving forward means all of us being in agreement, because where are we moving to if we are really not in agreement with where we're going? Just like I said, we really don't need reasons for us to go, for us to start sitting together and start talking. I would say for us to move forward means that, we are in agreement about a few things here and there, now and then. And so I would say moving forward needs us to be informed, back to education. It needs us to agree on where we're going. And for us to agree on where we're going, we need to be well informed. We need to make informed choices about where we're going. We also need to be able to respect each other, because without respect, then there's no way I'm walking with you on the same journey. I will walk with people that actually respect and see me. So if we're able to see and respect people around us, then that's a way to move forward. And to those that keep on fighting for peace, please don't give up. Let's keep on fighting for peace. Let's keep on pushing for people to understand and to communicate with each other. And above all, let's tell the story of Africa like it is. Let's not wait for people to tell our story. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. And in conclusion, please, the media, TVC Africa, SABC Africa, CNN Africa, NT Nigeria, channels, BBC, please say the truth as it is. Please don't heap up lies and paint bad pictures of people. South Africans are not part. I don't think there's anything like xenophobia in South Africa. It's just wrong media and publicity. They should say the truth as it is. They use xenophobia to crown it, whereas the root of the problem is different. Please, thank you very much, guys. Okay, and we'll see you again next week. From Cameroon, from Nigeria, everywhere. Say your goodbyes. Okay, before we go, drop your goodbyes.
Bye from Cameroon.
Okay, Wende.
Kwaheri from Kenya.
Okay.
Bye.
Sibulele, your goodbye from.
Nibe nobusuku obumyoli okwempepho yentsasa.
Okay, I got that. I got it. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Me too, bro.
Good night, guys. Good night.